saying improving in our performance such that it is being considered as quote unquote outperforming the other schools in our cohort group. As well, for the PARC assessment, we are grouped with particular schools who are similarly economically disadvantaged, and in that cohort, we outperformed those particular schools, and that cohort includes charters and traditional schools alike.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Henry. I just needed more context for it.
Sure.
Are there any other questions? So I thought, Laura, I heard you say Mr. Henry's a first-time principal?
Yes.
Bravo, sir. Bravo. Great job. Great job. Keep up the good work. I see Ms. Turner's thumbs up. I'm thumbs up with her too. Great job. All right, I'll turn this back over to you, Angela.
Thank you, guys. All right, next up is Furman L. Templeton Preparatory School.
Evening, I'm going to share my screen. But it's not. Is it displaying the presentation?
Yes, yes it is.
Yes.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Sandalistas, and other commissioners. My name is Rosalind Lockwood, and I am the Executive Director at Furman L. Templeton Preparatory Academy. And tonight I have with me Principal LaDacia Ballard and AP Kimberly Davis. And on behalf of our Board of Directors and school community, we would like to first thank Dr. Sandalistas for the 3-year renewal recommendation, and to the commissioners, the opportunity to speak to you tonight. As you have seen in the preliminary report, and we recognize that we have consistently done well in the areas of finances, governance, programming with students with disabilities, and creating a learning environment. But our achievement data continue to have mixed results, therefore leading to our rating of developing. We have taken steps to improve the academic outcomes for our students, and I will turn it over to our administrators so that they are able to provide you with more detail. Ms. Ballard?
Thank you, Ms. Lockwood. Good evening again. As Ms. Lockwood shared, my name is LaDacia Ballard, and I'm the principal at Furman L. Templeton Preparatory Academy. We know that based on our data tables from previous years, as well as our current data, including our curriculum, data from DOLCH assessment, SPIRE, and our partnership with ANET, our data continues to be mixed and showing a mixed student performance in both reading and math. So based on those outcomes and our data analysis process, we set specific goals to support student performance and overall achievement in reading and math, as well as overall student attendance. After a detailed analysis of our data, we found specifically that students needed to increase their skills during independent time. Those skills include increasing their ability to decode and read fluently, improve expression of comprehension during discussion and writing, increased use and application of basic facts, as well as application of content and strategies during problem solving. Additionally, we collected teacher feedback and identified teacher needs based on classroom observations. The following needs were identified, including strategic opportunities to collaborate during planning and data analysis. So really building our work around those data-based conversations and then collaboratively determining next steps. Increased classroom staffing through the use of grants specifically to support small group instruction in all classrooms K through 5, and training and professional development in instructional strategies as they are connected to curriculum, but general practices as well, especially under the concepts of accelerated learning. So in our current program, you'll see a mixture of whole group instruction, but dedicated time during reading and math lessons, as well as school-wide intervention blocks to address individualized student learning. So based on those data findings, we are planning the following responses or have already implemented our responses and want to continue moving forward for the remainder of this school year as well as beyond. The first is ongoing professional development, specifically around the data instructional cycle. So as opposed to addressing skills and strategies and best practices for teachers in isolation, again, keeping our conversations grounded in the data and the work that is a reflection of it. Implementation and monitoring of school-wide attendance programs and procedures, particularly those that support the MTSS program in partnership with Promise Heights and the University of Maryland, but also being very intentional about making sure we continue to address student and family barriers to help ensure students are present daily. We are working to implement continued instructional expectations throughout our building, which includes mandated whole group and small group schedules, and designated platform use and materials during instruction. So beyond curriculum, what are those digital platforms particularly that students can engage in that offer individualized learning? And finally, the implementation and monitoring of a school-wide intervention program. So our school-wide intervention program is tiered, where there are classroom teacher responsibilities as well as outside of classroom opportunities. Grant funds have been used to hire interventionists as well as small group tutors for each classroom to offer at least 4 opportunities for students to meet throughout the day in small group and differentiated instruction. We also have provided one-to-one tutoring built into our daily lesson schedules by partnering with FEV, partnering with after-school programs, which are aligned to our day school program and learning, and Saturday school programming to increase the amount of time students are spending actively working to recover their learning. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to address the group and the team this evening, and I will pause for a second for questions.
Are there any questions? Can't see. Okay. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Roberts, I'd just be interested if someone from the school community could speak to the rating drop in internal controls.
Ms. Lockwood, would you like to address?
Actually, we received a new report, Commissioner Roberts, where that rating was supposed to be changed to meet expectations. I'm not sure if Angela or Trevor is on and can speak to that.
Yep, that's correct. Ms. Lockwood asked us to revisit that rating, and we did that rating with finance. We did a secondary review and agreed that meets expectation was correct, that the first one was in error. So you should have received an updated report reflecting that.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Commissioner Roberts.
Are there any other questions? Can whoever's sharing the screen stop sharing so that I can see everyone?
I thought I did. Oh, okay, let me see. Is it over?
Yes, there we go.
Thank
there
you.
We go. Okay, are there any other questions? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, I don't see any hands. Thank you so much, you all, for joining us tonight. I appreciate the presentation. Angela, back to you.
All right, thank you guys. So next we're going to have the Green School of Baltimore. I think Board Exec Gant is going to share their presentation, and so for that team, you can just let him know how to navigate, and then you're ready to go.
Ms. Prim, would you like me to share, or would you like to share? Just to be clear, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I was not able to get it to share on my computer, so I'll need to have you share. Will you be able to, like, if I go like this, advance the slides?
Sure.
Awesome.
Give me one moment.
Kate, it may be easier if you just tell him to advance, because we start losing faces when
That's true.
when it's sharing presentation.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
And I'm doing well. Good to see you. Good to see everyone tonight.
All right. Okay, and I should be able to, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna go
All
back.
right.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Kate Prim. I am the founding principal of the Green School of Baltimore, and I am joined tonight by other members of our school community. We have families and students, teachers, and members of our board in attendance. Hello, everyone. Our school was founded in 2006, and we are in our 16th year of operations. We are an intentionally small school, a school of 162 students, where each child is known deeply. I'm sorry, next slide, please. And the next one. And children grow as scholars and stewards of our natural and social environment. Next slide. You have seen this information from our renewal report, but I wanted to review it again. We've received these ratings in our current report for audits and internal controls, meeting expectations, programming for students with disabilities effective, operator capacity effective, strategic leadership highly effective, academics effective, and fidelity to charter effective. Next slide, please. And specifically in the academic area, we rated in the absolute student performance in both ELA and math as developing, in student achievement trend in ELA as effective and in math as highly effective, and in student achievement growth in ELA as effective and in math as highly effective. Next slide, please. These ratings reflect growth since our last renewal cycle, when our academic data showed significant gaps in performance between our Black and white students. Next slide, please. We have been all in at every level of our organization to ensure more equitable outcomes for all students. Next slide, please. We are doing work at the staff level, at the level of curriculum and our instructional approach, in the way that we review data and use evidence-based improvement cycles in our work with families and community partnerships, and at our board level. Next. I don't have time to go into all the details tonight, but I wanted to hit give you a few examples. In terms of staff development, we've provided ongoing learning experiences for our staff to understand the impact of race on educational inequity, examine issues related to bias and institutional racism, and develop our skills for communicating around issues of race, racism, and inequities in education. With our instructional model, we have built a model or following a model that ensures access to grade level curriculum for all students, while also providing research-based, targeted, intensive intervention for students with lagging skills. We're using evidence-based improvement cycles to track the work that we're doing to see if we're seeing the outcomes that we're shooting for. And we're doing that by looking at data on a disaggregated basis. And we are expanding and growing community partnerships to partner with organizations that reflect and celebrate the diversity of our community and our city, including organizations like the Baltimore Algebra Project, Backyard Base Camp, and Arts in Parks. Next slide, please. And we are seeing payoff. We are seeing benefit. We are seeing the gap reducing. So specifically, we saw a 16-point increase in the mean scale score on Park ELA for our Black students from 2017 to 2019. So an increase in their mean scale score, which also represented a reduction in the gap by 18 points. We saw also a 16-point increase in the mean scale score in math, which represented a reduction in the gap by 15 points. Next slide, please. We are proud of this growth, and we know the work is far from done. We will use the feedback from this renewal cycle to continue to grow our practice, to continue to close gaps in performance and to ensure equitable outcomes for all of our student groups, and to continue teaching our students to share and grow their ideas as they develop the skills to help our world find solutions to the climate crisis and critical issues of social justice. And last slide, please. We look forward to sharing that continued growth with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from any of my board commissioners? I saw your hand that time, Commissioner Roberts. Go ahead.
I can't seem to always get the virtual ones work, so I just raise my hand. Thank you so much to the Green School community. Very exciting to see the recommendations this year. Something that I just wanted to point out, and you did make reference to the gaps that were referenced in your previous renewal report. If you could just speak to us a little bit more about the intentionality around the gap between the African American and white students as listed in your previous report. It does still exist, but what have you been doing over the last renewal period to close that gap, and what we can look forward to in the event that you all are awarded the next 3-year period?
Yeah, good question. So we really believe that the things that we're doing at every level contribute to closing the gap. It's not just about what you're doing with the curriculum or what you're doing with instruction. It's the work that teachers are doing, right? It's expanding diversity. It's increasing partnerships. It is finding new ways of looking at that data and holding ourselves accountable to that data. Making sure that the decisions we're making are being tracked so that they're not just the ideas that we come up with and we feel good about, but we're making sure that they are producing the outcomes that we're looking for, and if they're not, making adjustments. We have some members of our staff here and our board. If anybody else wants to jump in and answer that question, I'd welcome your thoughts as well.
I'm Keith Couch, the president of the board. I would comment that the staff, I believe, has taken a lot of steps to incorporate data and a kind of an ongoing life cycle of assessment and correction and intervention. I've seen a tremendous growth in discipline and really committing to that, bringing in new assessment tools and committing to using them consistently throughout the school year.
Thank you so much. I'll defer to Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. I admit 3 years ago I was serious with you guys. I'm pretty happy with you today. I guess I have a tangential question now. Last time you came, I think you talked about you had a gifted and talented cohort in your school, and it was dominated by majority kids. How is that class and classroom makeup now in terms of being pretty diversified? Hopefully pretty diversified. I
don't remember having that conversation at our last meeting. We are small and have one class per grade.
Okay.
So we don't have.
Okay, I was thinking, okay, I just thought that there was like a cohort that you said, I mean, okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I guess I remember just a big differentiation. But I thought it was like you segmented groups in terms of people doing well and versus people not up to par. But it's only one per grade.
One class per grade. That's right.
Okay.
One class per grade. I would say, just to go back to that question about like some of the specific strategies. Really feel like one of the things that we're focusing on so heavily this year, and have been since then, but this year being back in person, able to do it in a richer way, has to do with this building out an intervention team so that kids are getting that targeted support with research-based programs, but they're not missing their grade level content in order to get that. So they're staying connected. We're able to use the tiers of intervention to give them the targeted support they need, but also provide the scaffolds back in the classroom. So they are connected to their curriculum. They've got targeted practice back in the classroom, but they are not disconnected from what's happening at the grade level.
And they don't feel like they're being differentiated either, right?
No.
Okay.
We have, that's a great question. Yeah. Yeah. And we have, kids are moving in and out of small groups all of the time. it is part of the, it's part of the sort of work that happens in every classroom where there's a low floor for access to work and high ceiling, and you can be working all the way in that sort of column.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I would say to this team as well, I'm all smiles tonight. I really am proud of the work that you all have put in. And I know there's more work still needed to be done, but Kate, what you passionately talked about this commitment to diversity and really unpacking that with your team. And I believe that you've done that, and I believe that the proof is kind of what we see now, and I am hoping that it continues. So thank you for all of your work.
Thank you. Thank you to this team and everyone here, board, teachers, families. I don't see you on the screen, families, but thank you for being here tonight.
Commissioner Richardson, Chair Richardson.
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
I couldn't find the button to raise my hand. But just on that note, it would be very interesting to just, if you could share some of the, either in writing, some of what you have done. I was very impressed with the amount of work, and especially the work you said that was done with the staff around the whole issue of diversity and understanding students better. So I would love to read a little bit more about it. So if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that, because I do think that some of the, to Commissioner Roberts' point about, one of the things that we focus on with having this portfolio of schools is the ability to look at best practices and to share them across the system. So I would like to see that, given the kinds of results that you're beginning to see here.
I appreciate that. And I want to acknowledge the collaboration that we've had with other charters and other school leaders as we've been in this work together. We've been visiting schools, talking to people about the work that they do, and trying to learn from each other. And we're happy to be part of that community and share what we've been doing.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you all again. Angela, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Next up is Independent School Local 1 High.
Good evening, everyone. I am Principal McLean. I do have a PowerPoint to share. I'm not, can someone give me share rights, please?
Okay, one moment.
As you're working that out, Principal McLean, let me just go forward and say to the commissioners, Dr. Santelises, again, good evening. As you recall, 4 years ago, we received a conditional renewal. Dr. Santelises, in fact, had visited the school, and there were a number of areas that we really needed to work on. And I am proud to say that the leadership that we have at the school has addressed all of those areas, has really turned the school around. They are focused on rebuilding structure, restaffing the school, shoring up the curriculum, and revamping the SPED department that has become cited and recognized as one of the best SPED departments in the district. So with that said, I hope now Principal McLean is ready with the slideshow. And I want to thank the CEO for Dr. Santelises for the recommendation on tonight.
Absolutely. Again, good evening. I appreciate each and every one of you, your time and investment in this renewal process. I'll jump right in with the work we've done at Independence over the past 3 years. Using the root cause analysis to direct our efforts, we focused on curriculum use, course programming, social and emotional learning to anchor students in attending and achieving. We are an inclusive school community that services approximately 52% of our population now, with 504 and special education services and support. Key personnel have been hired to establish and manage support structures for students and staff. This school year, we too have added a data coach to our team to assist specifically with addressing our math data and growth in that area. We currently have a special educator in place as our education associate who manages and facilitates professional development in areas such as pedagogy, differentiated instruction, lesson planning, and gradual release. We partner with Tech for Learning to assist in aligning projects to the Common Core curriculum, to support our teachers in differentiated professional development needs, project planning, and implementation. In addition to that, we also partner with a Revolutionary Summer to support and coach staff in restorative practices and student engagement. Our teachers receive biweekly coaching and mentoring to support effective instruction. A full-time guidance counselor has been added to our staff to align our courses to meet MSDE graduation requirements. Student intervention is embedded into each lesson through automaticity practices. Reading and math intervention courses are provided to students during the course of the school day. Our cohort 2020-15 will be introduced to our first AP English course in school year 2022. Over the past 3 years, students have participated and completed with success dual enrollment courses, as well as our school currently pilots a school work-based learning program. Time and attention has been given to teacher development during the pandemic, as reflected in our effective rating during the CSI and SER audits. Since our return, primary focus has been on re-engaging our students, addressing achievement gaps, and rebranding the school to support the needs and interests of our students and families. Social and emotional learning within our school community supports our belief in nurturing the whole child. It's important to us that our students believe that they are entering a place especially prepared for them. Our current attendance rate is above 92%. Our students feel welcome, valued, and heard, and know that adults in front of them aren't just teaching, but they too are people who care. Support groups such as our weekly Brief Club and our Power 30 cohort support student attendance and connection to the school community, while interactive activities are held between staff and students to strengthen our in-school relationships. The independent school family surely extends an invitation to you all who are interested in coming to the school, stopping by and seeing our staff and students work. And at this time, I'll allow my ed associate or anyone else on the call to speak if they so choose.
Thank you, Principal McLean, and good evening to everyone on the line. Thank you for this opportunity to share some insight and some detail to how Principal McLean described some of the work that we've been doing at Independence. And though we still have some quite a bit of a ways to go, I just like to speak to the lesson planning that we've done, because one of her priorities, and when she gave me the root cause analysis, was about instruction. And as we all kind of understand, that instruction leads to higher test results. And one of the things that we implemented was automaticity and the HSA or MCAP's warm-up question in the form of those questions. So the automaticity is that foundational skills that students may come to our school with that they haven't mastered yet. And what we did was we looked at it having a special education background as trying to close that achievement gap. So we want to give students an opportunity to understand the foundational skill that they need to learn or master before they can get to that grade level independent activity by the end of the lesson. And then
Mr. Quillens, excuse me,
yeah.
The school's time is up. So if you could just briefly wrap up. And
Oh, okay, I apologize. And so I just wanted to give that information about what we were doing and how we were looking at instruction to build our students' capacity and stamina around standardized assessments. And also how we moved to transition the special education program from a school of concern by the Office of Special Education to 100% compliance in 1 year. And we've been steady at that compliance level since I've been operating in that position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you could stop sharing your screen. I do see a question from Commissioner Roberts.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Principal McLean is sharing.
Your hand is working.
I'm trying to. I can't get it to come back up. Oh boy.
Look at that same arrow. It should say stop sharing. You should be able to.
It's small now, so I can't see it at all.
Okay.
My finger can't. There it is.
While she's working on that, Commissioner, there we go. Commissioner Roberts. You're muted, Commissioner Roberts, and it looked like you were saying something really amazing too.
I was saying something so amazing. Thank you so much to the independent school community, and thank you, Madam Chair. I had the honor and privilege of visiting the independent school community last week, and so thank you so much again for allowing me into your school community to see your students and your staff at work. One of my questions relates to your previous renewal report as it relates to your CTE implementation. That's something that we didn't particularly hear much about tonight and that we didn't see in the renewal report. Is that something that you all could speak to for the board?
Yes, ma'am. I said we are currently working with our school community and operator around rebranding. We have surveyed stakeholders around current interests. We have attended an interest meeting prior to the pandemic to reestablish our CTE track. And as recently as this school year, our deputy director has investigated and that process, and we've been told that it's going through a refinement and they would get back to us for us to begin branding around our CTE track.
Yeah. If Commissioner, if you'd like to hear just a little bit from Dr. Pearson, who is really spearheading the exploratory committee on that new CTE project, you might be very interested in it if you would allow her.
Yes, and yes, Madam Chair, I will allow it. But I also want to, Dr. Pearson, can you speak to, because this was named in the 2018-19 renewal report. So there's been some time that has lapsed, you know, considering all things with the pandemic and remote learning and such. So could you speak to the period of time that the work that's has taken place or has not taken place during that period of time as a part of your answer?
Okay, I cannot speak to the work back in 2018 as far as the CTE, but I can speak for the last 3 months that I've been on board, that we have been working with the school district and trying to get the CTE application and all of that in place so we can be up and running, hopefully by the next school term. But in the interim, we're not silent. So we also have recently established an internship while we're working on the CTE with Soul of Medicine for our students, and what we are looking at as compassionate care, which is an interest of our students based on surveys that we facilitated during this particular school year. And these students will have an opportunity of their choice to go into certification programs such as CNA. They can also get their phlebotomy. They'll also be have their certification for CPR, as well as have jobs at the end of their internship program. So even though we're working in tandem with the CTE program, we are also should have our first cohort hopefully in January with the internship program. So we're just not sitting around waiting. We still have to be vigilant and diligent in providing services to our students now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pearson.
Commissioner Reed?
Thank you. This may be directed to district staff. In May of 19, the academic evaluation for independence was developing. Recently, so it's 2.5 years later, it's gone to non-effective. So when it was developing, we gave a 1-year conditional. When it's not effective, we're asking for a 3-year contract. Can somebody explain the dichotomy to me?
Yep, for this year's process, the CEO's recommendation and the advisory board's recommendation are governed by their ratings and effective programming for students with disabilities, the audit control compliance, operator capacity, and the strategic leadership from the school effectiveness review. So those are the ratings that led to the 3-year recommendation from the CEO and which is consistent with the advisory board's recommendation, which is governed by that rubric.
So the rubric.
So in the prior year, we had a regular renewal process, right? That looked at the academic performance and developing the initial recommendation. And the board at the time, based on the concerns that were flagged in that process, determined that a 1-year look at practices would be appropriate. So that's how that 1 year came about. And I don't believe staff recommended a 1 year, but that was the result of the process from the board, because the board has the ability to modify and recommend the terms that the board sees fit.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I don't see any hands raised, so thank you so much to this team. Really appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you very
Angela,
much.
back to you. Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, and next up is Southwest Baltimore Public Charter.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Principal Eldridge, and I will be sharing my screen if I may.
Okay. One. Oh, you already as a presenter, so you should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right, so I won't be before you long. I know we are the last one of the evening. Good evening to the members of the board, our Southwest Baltimore Charter School community, and the greater Baltimore City Public School community. Again, I'm Principal Eldridge, and this is my 2nd year leading at Southwest Baltimore Charter School. Starting in the pandemic was a bit challenging, but I am so proud of the work that we have already accomplished, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to speak with you on behalf of our school community. While the 2020-2021 renewal process highlighted the many strengths of our school community, it also highlighted an immediate need for us to address the academic performance of students in our elementary grades. Since the analysis of this 2018-2019 data, we have researched and implemented a number of instructional strategies and assessment platforms that are widely trusted to provide reliable diagnostic data and supplemental resources for our students. This year, we even deepened our efforts to provide the strongest academic program possible for our scholars with the implementation of math customized learning, a strategy comparable to individualized learning plans. Our end of year 2021 iReady data shows that overall, 30% of our kindergarten through 5th grade students performed on or above grade level in ELA and 21% in math. Even in the midst of a pandemic, we showed growth from the beginning of the 2021 school year to the end. We celebrate our steady progress, but we know that there's much more work to be done. Here you see that of the 88 traditional schools with a K-5 grade band for which we were provided iReady math data, we were outperformed by only 32 schools, putting us on par with or above 64% of these schools, which simply means that we are providing a program that is on par with at least 64% of our greater school community. It is our belief that by providing targeted interventions such as MCL, by building our community's social emotional toolbox, and by ensuring equity in all critical areas of our school, we are putting our students on a trajectory for continuous academic improvement. Once again, thank you for your time. My team and I will be happy to answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
Thank you so much. Can you stop sharing your screen so that I can see the participants. Okay. Are there any questions from my fellow board commissioners? I don't see any hands raised, so thank you so much, Southwest Baltimore. We appreciate you coming out tonight. Angela, that was our last school.
That was. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all of our schools. We know this is a challenging process, and the work that you do is important. It's credible. It's challenging. There's no, as the quote Principal Canham, there are no magic bullets in this work. It's hard work. You have to be reflexive, and so we really appreciate everybody's efforts and thoughts on behalf of our school community. And I want to thank you guys, board commissioners, hanging out with us on this evening. And thank you so much. And I want to thank my staff, Trevor Roberts in particular, who leads this process, heads up this process, and does a lot of work to make this happen. I get to look pretty, but he's done like a lot of the hard labor around organizing this work. So I want to make sure I acknowledge his hard work and efforts.
Thanks, Angela.
Trevor is the man. Thank you, Trevor. And thank you, Angela. That's it for tonight. And so I want to also thank my fellow board commissioners for hanging out again. Another late night for us, but we do this for our young people. So thank you. Everyone have a good night. Stay safe, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.